California, the sun, the beach. But this week, laid-back living turns to high-power roars through the streets. It's the historic Long Beach Grand Prix.
Grand Prix at Long Beach.
It's race number 4 for the 2010 IZOD IndyCar Series, and it's been Penske Racing's season sweep so far. Points leader Will Power has started the season strong.
How about Will Power?
But last week, his teammate Helio Castroneves climbed the fence in the deep south of Alabama.
Helio Castroneves, he's the winner.
This has been the place for the name Andretti.
Michael Andretti has won.
As the third-generation driver Marco tries to continue that legacy. Last week, he led the most laps, looking for his first win in 2 years, but played the fuel game wrong and ended up with sheer disappointment. The field is set. The crowd is psyched. The engines are primed. Let the Long Beach battle begin. The best open-wheel drivers in America have gathered for the 36th time to challenge the streets of Long Beach in the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach, and we're glad you've chosen to spend your afternoon with Versus and the IZOD IndyCar Series. 85 laps around this 1.968-mile racetrack. It's a beautiful day and a beautiful setting for this event. And by the way, it's the final road and street race before 4 straight oval tracks, including, of course, the Indianapolis 500. It's time for the command. Let's go trackside.
All right, Southern California, are you ready? It's now time for those most famous words in motorsports. Please welcome actor and producer Mark Wahlberg as he gives the command.
Drivers, start your engines!
Beginning with roll 1, let me hear you. Control, roll 1 hot. Roll 2 hot. 3 hot. 4 hot. 5 hot. 6 hot. 7 hot. 8 hot. 9 hot. 10 hot. 11 hot.
We heard and felt the flyover here above this track, and now the drivers are all ready to go on this race. And as the cars get ready to pull away behind the pace car for a couple of warm-up laps, Jan has a closer look at this racetrack.
And Bob, you mentioned it's just under 2 miles, and as soon as you get the overhead look, you can say, yeehaw! That's why there's a lot of passing, 170 miles an hour down shoreline into the best passing zone there is on this racetrack into turn number 1. Around through the fountain. Now you could still possibly make a move into 6, maybe into 8, but the second best place to pass is the end of the back straightaway, turn number 9, and then the legendary hairpin down to 27 miles an hour.
So let's take a little closer look at some of those spots. Here's going down Shoreline Drive into 1. TK, most experienced guy out here. And look at that, just a little bit of a miscue, and off you go. I think we're going to see a lot of those little miscues in the streets today here. And look at the bouncing around they get here. The pavement changes that are all over this track. You have a lot of paint down as well and striping along with different patches of pavement. Look at that. Ooh, big bounce from Will Power up over the curbing, and that's where Jan said that led into the next second pass, best passing zone. Here it is, the classic hairpin. Look at how crossed up Ryan Hunter-Ray was. Woo!
Strategy played a very important role in last weekend's encounter at Barber Motorsports Park, and our strategist Jack Arute is on station at the new IZOD Perform X Pit Center. Jack.
Bob, I've been taking a look at the history of this race, and there certainly is a lot of it. And I ran some averages, and we need to take a look at those averages to be able to understand what the strategy might be. The total number of laps, the total number of cautions, 5 for 18 laps in the 85. Well, what about the average length of the caution? Well, it's only 3 to 4 laps each time. The average lap comes on the first caution on lap 17, and the average number of stops, 3. Well, guess what? There's going to be teams that are going to make this race on 2 stops, and here's how they're going to do it. What they're going to basically have to do is split this race up into thirds. Watch 2 different strategies as it unfolds. Some guys, when the pit window opens on lap 22 or so, are going to pull into pit road and get out of sequence. Other drivers, depending on where they're at and if they're not being held up, they're going to go as far as 31, 32 laps. What's the bottom line, though? Be the first across the start-finish line. And what we're going to really have to watch is that second lap, that second pit stop, because that's going to help us really determine, is someone being forced to save fuel, or is someone going to be in a situation like Marco Andretti was last week and have to pit for a fuel and go? Guys?
Jack, you look good in the new pit center. The Peak Pole Award was won yesterday by Will Power, his 3rd consecutive pole position. He becomes only the 5th driver in IZOD IndyCar history to accomplish that feat, winning 3 in a row. The only other pole winner this year, Dario Franchitti, that was at the first race in Brazil. Here is the way the field lines up for today's race. Ryan Hunter-Reay in the front row for the first time in series history. Justin Wilson starts 3rd, where he started in Brazil, and last week's winner, Helio Castroneves. Row 3, Helio's teammate Ryan Briscoe, his best start this year, and Tony Kanaan, the pole sitter here in 99.
And for Ryan Briscoe, he said he knew that he had to bring up the mark, go quicker in qualifying. Now all 3 Penske cars in the top 6.
The most experienced driver at this track is next. Alec Tagliani, 10 previous starts. Scott Dixon, last week's runner-up. In the 5th row, Marco Andretti, who led most laps at Barber. And down Wheldon, his best start since Japan last year. Row 6, Hideki Moto driving for the Newman Haas Lanigan team. They have more wins than any other team here at this track. And Dario Franchitti, the defending race winner.
A year ago, he started on the front row. Now he's back in 12th, but never count out Dario. No one's better as a street fighter than him.
Starting 13th, Simona Di Silvestro, highest qualifying rookie, and Vitor Meira on the podium at Brazil in his first race back from injuries at Indy last year. As you take a look at the rest of the lineup, 2 drivers have won the race starting from the 7th row or beyond. Michael Andretti started from 15th in 2002 and won, and Paul Tracy from 17th 10 years ago. This race has run caution-free 10 times. The most cautions, 7 occurred at this event in 98. On the onboard cameras that we carried this afternoon by Graham Rahal, and apparently his final race for Sarah Fisher. Also with an onboard camera, Takuma Sato in the Lotus-sponsored entry for KV Racing Technology starting in 19th. Dan Wheldon in the National Guard machine for Panther Racing starting outside row number 5. Tony Kanaan with 3 consecutive top 10 finishes this year, off to a very good start. Ryan Briscoe is 6th in the point standings going into today's race. And we'll also have an in-car camera from Ryan Hunter-Reay looking for his 2nd series victory, carrying the colors of Andretti Motors Autosport, a name which has a lot of history here at Long Beach. As far as tires are concerned, only 3 on the primaries. Everybody else will be starting on the primary. Yeah, everybody else on the reds to start the race.
And one of the reasons for that, Bob, is because the blacks or the primaries, everyone's saying in this cool ocean air is taking 4 or 5 laps to really get some heat and really get some speed. So almost everyone, as you said, with the exception of 3, starting on the red sidewalls alternate, they get a lot more grip right off the go.
Yeah, and all those guys that are on those alternates are 1 through 18. So that's not really going to be a big variable up towards the front of this pack.
Cars are headed for corner number 5. Then they make a right-hander and come back parallel to the front stretch for a little bit of time, and then a right-hander into 6, 7, and 8. Scott Dixon gets ready to go in the Target Chip Ganassi car.
Fastest car in the morning warm-up. That doesn't pay points, but it does show that he's got the car going the right direction.
Do you think he has any thoughts in his head of what happened to him at Barber when they're saying he jumped the start? He questions that. You think the driver's thinking about that right now?
He was during the interview earlier.
He sure was. He sure was.
All right, well, it's time to go racing in Long Beach, an event that we look forward to every year. The city supports it. The fans are ready for racing. The drivers love it. We're close to Hollywood. Anything can unfold here in the movie that is about to be unleashed as the cars begin their two-wide formation.